Reeds Matters, how's it going? And welcome back to the one-armed commentary machine YouTube channel. Star one, crazy one, twisty one, do some effects, you wizardy editing buggers. All right, Matters, how's it going? And welcome back to the One Man Commentary Machine YouTube channel. Thank you very much for coming back. And please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you like this video so you can keep up with more of my content in the future. We've just reached that 100 subscribers mark. So thank you so much, everybody that's already hit the 100 subscriber mark and helped me get there. I really appreciate it. Right, yesterday was a frustrating day for me because I tried to put a video together while I was reacting to Tyson Fury calling out AJ, but unfortunately that video was flagged with a copyright strike and therefore will never see the light of day on YouTube. Anyway, I'm thinking about starting a Kick or a different kind of account that's going to allow that kind of a content. But anyway, I've kind of had like a trapped feeling inside of my nerves and bones because I've needed to make some content to celebrate the fact that we have hit 100 subscribers. But unfortunately, the big bit of news today is, well, there's two big bits of news today, to be honest. One, WWE have released their released list for 2026, or at least the month of April's release list of 2026. And it's also been announced by Netflix that Lucha Underground is going to be returning. So lots of things to look forward to, and unfortunately a couple of surprising releases. So let's dive into it and let's have a little look at some of the releases that came out. I'm going to start things off talking about Zelina Vega because she was on a live stream last night talking about how this release happened and talking about how different it is from the previous releases that other superstars and even herself have had in the past when they've been released by WWE. Normally, of course, you get the call from Stanford. Stanford has an area code, like like any kind of like landline number has an area code, so you kind of know with the time of the year that it is and the phone number that's calling you what that phone call is going to be about. But this was a TKO appointment sacking this came round, so it was slightly different. Zelina Vega said that they were released yesterday at about 10 minutes past 5, that local time kind of thing. So it's nice that they've waited right until the end of the workday and then released everybody and gone home for the day, or gone home for the weekend even. So like good stuff, WWE. That's really nice of you. I'm sure that there'll be people in the office willing to answer questions on Monday, but by that point, I mean, these self-employed wrestlers will have to do what they've got to do. But, Zelina Vega is definitely one of those people that could be tailor-made for the return of Lucha Underground. But again, we'll talk a little bit more about the return of Lucha Underground a little bit later on in the video. Let's carry on going through there it is. There it is, right? I think I'm going to put it here. I'll put it here. I'll put the list of released superstars just here, or at least the ones that we are going to be talking. I'll put the whole list there. Editing magic. Right, anyway. Let's talk about maybe somebody that's been unlucky in these release lists. Let's talk about Alba Fire. Obviously, it's one of those ones where Chelsea Green has been out with an injury, and so too has Piper Niven, leaving Alba Fire in a position where there isn't really much to do. You can't sack people while they're injured. I'm pretty sure it's against the law. So Piper Niven hasn't been released yet. But unfortunately, the consequence of that is that Alba Fire has been released. And if you look through the release list, there are a number of female on there, and there's another British superstar on there. Nikki Cross has also been released as a part of the Wyatt Sicks releases. That's Nikki Cross, Joe Gracie, Eric Rowan, Dexter Loomis, and of course Uncle Howdy himself, Bo Dallas, have all been released by the company. Another strange one that's going to catch people off guard, I think. The amount of money last year alone that was put behind the Wyatt Six. Wasn't there some kind of like horror attraction at Orlando Studios or something like that, or something along those lines? And then they went over to establish, to help raise the profile of AAA in Mexico, and I think they did really well there. It's a big group, isn't it? It's difficult to have too many big groups moving at the same time, but I don't think the Wyatt Six would have been costed an absolute fortune when it comes to the wages. And if you were willing to sort of like give them more of a part-time or work around a different kind of schedule where, they appear all over the spot. So like they'll do, a month torturing someone on Raw, and then they'll disappear and do a month torturing someone on TNA, and then they can disappear altogether, and then come back and get someone on SmackDown, and then get someone on NXT. And I just don't think that they've used it really well. But also potentially the fact that they call it the Wyatt Six. It lingers, the thought of Bray Wyatt does linger, and deservedly so. He's left a hell of a legacy behind him. Is this an act that you could see in Lucha Underground? No, probably not, because WWE own the rights to the name the Wyatt Six. So if any of these guys were to go somewhere else, it definitely wouldn't be an alliteration of the Wyatt Six. Although there are certain superstars within the Wyatt Six that would really good, I think, in Lucha Underground, and probably the best one for that Dexter Lumis and Joe Gacy have a really good look, very athletic wrestlers, very athletic superstars. So I mean, I don't understand why two perfectly good athletes won't be able to pick up more work in the future, and especially two wrestlers that are known for their character work, and that is something that Lucha Underground will need going forward. They'll need good actors that can wrestle to make it interesting once again. Because we all learnt the first time around with Lucha Underground, you don't need to be known. We don't need to know who you are at all to make Lucha Underground interesting. It's the storylines, the acting, the believability, and the wrestling that made Lucha Underground so special. And the short time as well, the 1 hour long show, really doesn't leave a lot for you to forget anyone. And so you can keep up with the action week after week after week quite organically. You don't need the biggest of rosters to keep that one going. So yeah, I think like out of the Wyatt Six, Dexter Lumis is probably the most likely. Potentially there, Nikki Cross as well. Like if you want sort of like an unhinged, crazy lady kind of character knocking around, but I don't think that Scottish accent will necessarily play out very well on like a Spanish language led program. I don't know if that's going to be a crossover kind of thing, but I think the UK indie scene will love to embrace Nikki Cross back, and obviously her fellas over here in the UK as well. So we might get to see those guys on shows and stuff, and that'll only help the UK indie scene when we do get superstars that have been released by WWE coming back here and working every weekend across the UK. It just raises everybody's profile to get that little WWE rub from those released superstars. Anyway, let's move away from the Wyatt Six and talk about another surprise release. Or, well, some people would say surprise release. Just be given the amount of momentum that was given to them on the way into the company. I'm talking, of course, about the Motor City Machine Guns, a tag team that was pretty much hyped up, given the gold, and then didn't really know what they were going to do with Shelley and Sabin. Very disappointing. They've been around the place, and I think it's actually finally came to fruition that the reason that these guys were probably signed up to WWE and given, the bells and the whistles, is to basically stop them from signing for AEW, which was what was looking more likely for the most part. And something that AEW struggles with is an interesting tag team division, and the Motor City Machine Guns, would have been able to jump into feuds with the two or three tag teams that are established in AEW and provide some pretty decent matches. So again, disappointing for Shelley and Sabin, but really now you can see what happened. Now you can see that it was just to deter them from going to AEW, stop that momentum from building for AEW, having that big pop, sort of like new superstar entrances. So they stole that. They stole the momentum. It looked like for the first 2 or 3 months, They were getting behind the Motor City Machine Guns, but over the course of the year, it's fizzled out, it's faded. I feel I've heard there's been a couple of issues backstage with some of the personalities within the Motor City Machine Guns. So fair enough, it is release time. You've probably got a lovely big paycheck, the biggest paycheck you've had for a year within the wrestling industry. So I mean, I hope you can use that, capitalize on it, move forward. And like I said, there's plenty of other companies out there that Motor City Machine Guns can wrestle for. They would look fantastic in Japan. I think that'll be a great place for them to go. But I mean, with these guys, they're tailor-made. They can take bookings all over the world. They're ready to go. And most companies want an established tag team as well. So I mean, I expect to see more and more and more from them in the near future. Somebody that people have forgotten about from this release list, and fair enough if you don't watch main events or NXT like dark matches. Is Apollo Crews, who was given the opportunity to return to WWE. He really worked on his physique. He looked absolutely fantastic, but there was just nothing for him, was there? Character work was poor. Not his fault. The character that he was maybe given was poor. It's not that hard, I don't think, to come up with a decent gimmick for Apollo Crews. There's plenty of sort of like gimmicks. He's naturally sort of like annoying. And what I mean by that is that, like, when he, remember the Happy Smiley Apollo Crews, the first one we got, the first iteration where he was, doing standing moonsaults and, just had a grin from ear to ear. And that's what made him sort of like unlikable, is the fact that he would just have this transparent grin from ear to ear. Now, if you turn that transparent grin into something seedy and you made him, a bit conniving, a bit clever, a bit of a gang leader, or, something along those lines, or at least somebody that was out there for himself, with the appearance, of burning bridges and screwing people over. I feel like that would have really helped Apollo Crews. And something that WWE and NXT is lacking is like decent heels that you just hate, not because they're physically dominating, just because you want to see them get their asses kicked. I feel like the physicality is a massive part of the heel game at the moment, and there isn't that many old school heels being allowed the opportunity to come through, like someone like a Miz, for example. Like that's why Miz has hung on for so long, because there isn't really anyone that can do that as good as he does it. And maybe All Ego Ethan Page might be that person, but we're getting off track. These aren't people that have obviously been released. So let's round things off with the last two people that I want to talk about on the release list. Let's talk about Kairi Sane. Huge surprise that Kairi Sane was included in the release list, because I mean, just the amount of matches that they've been having recently. It must have been something that's been agreed upon. She's obviously been incredibly professional right up until the end on Raw and Monday. And today's just seems to be the day that they've called it a day for Kairi Sane. Again, she can go anywhere. She's tailor-made. She's ready to go. She's so likable. She's so talented. She's so athletic that she's not going to struggle to find any work. And also, she's gorgeous. So she might not wrestle again. She might go into doing some other stuff. She might explore different avenues and things like that. So I mean, I don't know if it's the end of her wrestling career. But a part of me thinks that she is going to allow the opportunity to try other things, and so we might see her popping up in different places. And we've all seen her Instagram pictures. She's absolutely gorgeous. So I'm sure that she'll be maybe taking advantage of some of those opportunities that she can take advantage of. And yeah, hats off to her. She deserves to do that. Right, the last person I want to mention on this long list is, well, it's somebody that was a massive favorite of mine, still is in my heart. I really like him as a wrestler, but it's just somebody that there's never seemed to be enough room on the card to give this person the time that they needed to establish cool how cool I think they are. Anyway, and his name is of course Aleister Black. Aleister Black's been from AEW, or from WWE to AEW, back to WWE. Chances are he'll go back to AEW as well. And who can blame him at the end of the day when you are in a position when you can take advantage of these signing bonuses, going backwards and forwards, making more money each time you bounce from company to company. go for it, absolutely go for it. And I think from the first time round that WWE had Aleister Black, there was more public unrest around when he wanted his release. He was demanding his release the same time that Rusev, sorry, talk like he's my boyfriend or something. Rusev, and Aleister Black were asking for the releases at similar times. I feel like also in that mix was Neville as well, who wanted to get his release early from WWE, and they made it very messy for all three of those guys to get out. But eventually, obviously, they all got released and they all ended up going to AEW. Two of the three have made their way back to WWE, and now one of those two has been release. Now, Aleister Black is tailor-made for this new wrestling, hard-hitting style that we seem to see, the blood sport and the real wrestling and those kind of companies, the MMA sort of like hybrid style. And I think maybe that'll be something that he'll be very interested in getting involved in as well. And obviously the fact that his missus has been released at the same time as him. So, like, those guys can obviously go out there, work together. I think that Aleister Black is okay with this. I don't think that he's upset about this one. Otherwise, we would have saw similar behaviour to what we saw the first time round. We'll see a bit of more like unrest, a few sort of like snidey comments and things along those lines. But yeah, I think Aleister Black's going to go from strength to strength. And lastly, of course, I think that Aleister Black is 100% made for a company like Lucha Underground. He's an established face for a start. So at any moment, if he pops up, you'll know exactly who it is. From the contact lens and a little bit of face paint, eerie music, it's fantastic sort of character for a Lucha Underground to have an established sort of like dark and mysterious thing. Because we know like Lucha Underground likes to be dark and mysterious. So, someone like an Aleister Black with that hard-hitting style, one, it'll be different because it's not all high-flying and stuff, but it is cool because it is very kicky and striking. So it does look cool, his style of wrestling. It will be different to Lucha wrestling as well, and the character will be, fantastic for a company like Lucha Underground. Looking forward to more news of Lucha Underground as and when it is released. We'll be reacting to that as well, potentially when the roster comes out. We'll do a video about who's been signed up to work with Netflix's newest wrestling project. It doesn't have anything to do with TKO, but it does have a lot to do with Netflix, so we'll be keeping up with that one as Netflix tries their own venture into creating their own sort of like wrestling. I mean, they owned Lucha Underground, well, they own the content anyway. They bought the programming of Lucha Underground the first time round, but it looks like this time they've actually bought the rights to produce their own episodes. They're not hiring a company, that are making episodes for them and buying 4 episodes at a time or whatever the deal was the first time round. They will be making their own. So with that, I do hope that they stick to a series, and I wouldn't mind if Netflix do Netflix and they release all 8 episodes at the same time or 10 episodes at the same time, or they drip feed it day by day, or they do it week by week. But I would like to know when the Lucha Underground season starts how many episodes we have of that season. I hope they stick to the season format. I hope they don't really go past 10 or 12 episodes per season so they can keep it all very interlocked and interesting. And that's something that you just can't get with WWE and AEW. There's no sort of like deadline for things to really reach, and there's no way for you to sort of like resolve certain situations all the time anyway within a certain time period. But that's something that's so satisfying about doing a wrestling series. That'll make the big difference for me. It makes a big difference for the audience. It makes the content a lot more enjoyable when it's in manageable chunks and sort of like 12 1-hour episodes, 10 1-hour episodes, 8 1-hour episodes, 4 1-hour episodes. I don't care how many you do, but you could bash out 4 episodes in one day and it'll be the cheapest thing that they've ever produced. And then they sell a t-shirt or some masks and they'll make a load of money out of Lucha Underground, believe me. With Lucha Underground on Netflix, if you're looking for a commentator, you know who to reach out for. That's me, the one-man commentary machine, or the one-armed commentary machine. It's been an absolute pleasure, guys. If I've missed talking about your favorite wrestler that's been released yesterday, then comment their names in the comment section below, and I'll react to it, mate. Yeah, I'll definitely have a little crack with you about whoever you want to have a little crack with in the comment section. Once again, thank you very much for 100 subscribers. Let's hope that this video absolutely smashes, and I haven't hit the ball a little bit too late. Let's hope this video smashes. So we're looking for 11 likes. Let's have 11 likes on this video, please. That'll be fantastic. That's half the amount of people that have been released. 22 people released yesterday by WWE. But of course, Netflix announcing Lucha Underground will be returning. So every cloud, ladies and gentlemen, has a very wrestlery silver lining. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This has been done in one take, and thank you very, very much for sticking around. Keep it real. Have a good day. Enjoy yourselves. And bye for now. What? Star Wipe!